Yeah. Yeah, that's no bar. On my way. Yeah. Just got a call there from a fella I picked up the other day. He wants me to do a proper taxi tour of Belfast this afternoon. Asked for me by name. Must be my charisma. It's like I was saying, you give a little, you get a little back. Just give the customers a bit of yakety yak. Well, sorry, your specialist local knowledge. And who knows, could be a few quid on it for you. I needed that, I'll tell you. Anyway, there's me going on about giving tours, and maybe you've never even done one yourself. Well, sir, you are in luck because I have a bit of time before my pickup, and I am prepared to impart to you my expertise. You can thank me later. Now, as I say, I pointed out a few local places of interest on the way here. But you can maybe have your own ideas. That is fine, I don't mind. That's what we want. First off, I usually head up towards Queen's University. University here is lovely. Gorgeous architecture, tons of history, and when it's term time, loads of beautiful... God, I wish I was young again. Speaking of students now, when Queen's University started in 1849, it started with just 343 of them. Today, there's over 25,000 hard-working students. And there's over 3,500 staff in Queen's, making it one of the biggest employers in Belfast. Actually, that's a good quiz question. How many people work in Queen's University? That's right, about half of them. Those Georgian-style houses? The story goes that Queen Victoria was popping over here for a wee cup of tea or something, I don't know what. Anyway, the powers that be did not want her soiling her eyes with the slums. Apparently she would not have been amused. So what they did was, they built those to hide the slums. Only the thing is, they are not proper houses, it's just a wall. Seriously, go on out and you can have a wee juke. There it is. The Lanyon building. That's the building that'll make all the tours go, ooh, oh. Just tell them it's a prime example of Tudor Gothic style. And if they ask you to elaborate on late Victorian architectural styles, just pretend you've gone temporarily deaf. It's nice though, isn't it? See that fella in the statue? That is the world famous Lord Kelvin. He invented absolute zero. That's the lowest temperature ever. And he went to Queen's University. Lots of famous people went to Queen's University. Seamus Heaney, the poet. Liam Neeson, the actor. My Uncle Geordie. Though to be fair, when I say he went to Queen's, he basically just emptied the bins at the back of the Students' Union. Now, if your punter has a few minutes to spare, you should suggest he takes a wee dander up to the Palm House there and have a good gander at it. First of all, because it's free, and secondly, because it's very impressive. So impressive is that Kew Gardens in London was modelled after it. Typical English, couldn't see green cheese. In there is Friars Bush Graveyard. It's the oldest burial site in Belfast. Got its name from the old days, the penal laws, when Catholics weren't allowed to go to Mass in church. So what did they do? Well, they just went ahead and had it anyway, under any old thorn tree they could have. Hang on a minute, that doesn't sound quite right, does it? Well, they did. They had a mass under a thorn, you know what I'm saying? Anyway, they actually hanged a friar in there in 1720. Not very nice, but that was the old days. Then, of course, it didn't get much better in the 1840s, because 2,000 people was buried in there. They all died of starvation or cholera. Plaguey Hill, it's called. Not going to sell many houses in Plaguey Hill, are you? And right here is the Ulster Museum. There's some great stuff in there. They've got a brilliant art collection, science, history, fun stuff. And there's something else you won't see every day, a gold hand. The shrine of St. Patrick's hand is this gorgeous golden case in the shape of an arm. Do you know what it's supposed to contain? The bones of the very arm and hand of the great snake banisher himself, St. Paddy. Now, unfortunately, they won't let you open it up to check. So inside it could well be a packet of Smarties and a fig, but it's still worth a look. It's a cracking day today, isn't it? Lovely and sunny. And even though I'm a Northern Ireland man, I promise you I will not go topless. We're heading down now to the Europa Hotel. We all know the Europa Hotel, of course. Famous for years it was as the most bombed hotel in Europe. 33 times it was bombed between 1972 and 1992. But it kept going. At one stage, it got bombed so often that the manager, Mr. AVBrowne, he got so fed up, he lifted one of the bombs and ran after the bombers to hand it back to them. But that was the early days, of course, not like that now. Nowadays, we get all sorts of bigwigs coming to there. Aye, all big names have stayed in there. Bill Clinton stayed there. He was the first ever American president to visit Northern Ireland. 1995 it was he came, I remember it well. I was 10 years old at the time. Huge crowds came and greeted him everywhere. Oh, it was great crack. And then the room he stayed in, they renamed it the Clinton Suite. I've had a few rooms named after me, but don't want to go into that. The old Crown Bar, eh? Well, no visit to Belfast will be complete. We had a couple of jars and a snug in the Crown. Though it wasn't always called the Crown, you know. It used to be called the Railway Tavern back in 1826 when the first ever train ran from here to Lisburn. So how did it get to be called the Crown? Well, according to legend, it was owned by a certain Mrs. Flanagan, and she was a good Ulster Protestant and wanted it called the Crown. But Mr. Flanagan, well, he was a good Ulster Catholic and he didn't want it called the Crown. But men being men and women being women, she got her way. So it was called the Crown. Mr. Flanagan agreed on one condition, that there was no sign saying the Crown. Instead, he built a crown in a mosaic at the entrance there. So every single person who visits the pub tramples over the British Crown. A good Ulster compromise, eh? Bit like this weather. One minute it's sunny, next minute it's freezing. God knows what we're going to get next. Now, no matter what you think, what's Northern Ireland most famous for? The Troubles. All the punters will ask about it and they'll all want to see the old hot spots. They'll want to see the Shankill and the Falls. That big thing there, that's known as Divis Tower, also known as Divis Flats. It was originally built as social housing way back. Then the army arrived and they realised there's a blooming good view from the very top of that. You can see for miles and miles around. Well, on a normal day you can't today, you couldn't see 3 feet in front of you. So from 1970 to 2005, the British Army sat on top of that tower there. The only way they could get in and out was by helicopter. A bit like myself, the only way I can get in and out of my house is by helicopter. Now, we all have our own views on the past, right? And we all have our own stories to tell. But just remind the punters, you know, that there's always two sides to every story. Now, another big draw for the punters is this, the peace line. Tell the punters they were built to stop Protestant areas and Catholic areas from getting to know each other a little too well. The very first peace line was built back in 1969 by the British Army. It was meant to stop Protestant rioters attacking Catholic West Belfast. This one here, this is the biggest of the lot. 40 foot high, built in 3 different parts. And as you can see, covered in graffiti, scribbles and what have ye. Everybody's written on this, you know. Bono and the Dalai Lama and my Uncle Geordie, they've all written messages of peace and hope. Well, Bono and the Dalai Lama did. Uncle Geordie just wrote Man United or Magic. There's it there. Top tip, by the way. Always keep a wee marker in the taxi ride so your punter can jump out, write his name on the wall, create his very own wee bit of history. Works every time.